We just had about 4 inches of rain over about a 48-hour period. All of that happened right after we had a week of light rain, snow, and drizzle. The rain quit yesterday evening, so water levels have come down a lot over the night. Over the night? Meant overnight, not over the night. Anyway, we have a few road problems to deal with after the storm. One of the challenges of maintaining forest land is maintaining roads and trying to keep Mother Nature from destroying them. Roads just don't fit into Mother Nature's agenda, and she's always trying to destroy them. Over the years, I've learned a few maintenance tricks to keep her from doing that, and we'll do a few of those today. First, let's fix this problem. This is just a bad situation here where we have a gully that comes across the road. This old neglected road has ruts in it that the water is running down instead of running across the road the way it's supposed to. What it really needs is a culvert here, but I haven't put one in because my plan is to eventually abandon this road when I get the one above it, which is in a better spot, fixed up. Then I'll use that one instead of this one. For now, we'll put a temporary dam here to get the water to go that way instead of down the road. Now the water can go down the gully the way it's supposed to, instead of washing down the road where it's not supposed to. Here it washed away a lot of the soil in this track. It also exposed another quartz vein. I would like to have somebody who knows what they're doing take a look at this quartz someday. There might be gold in them thar hills. This area does have a mining history. I don't see a lot of mineral staining in this quartz, so I don't know that it's a high probability material, but I am not an expert when it comes to that. That's out of my pay grade. It washed out this rut, which is not a good thing, but the tailings filled up this pothole, which is a good thing. This short stretch of road is just a problem area. It's where a lot of water accumulates. What it needs is to be reworked and be crowned and ditched. Have ditches on the sides, and then the road be crowned so the water will run off the road instead of down the road. Every year before the rainy season starts, I like to walk around and look at all my culverts, make sure they're not plugged, or there's no potential problems there that could plug them. I also like to check them again after we've had a big rain with high water to make sure debris hasn't washed down and plugged them up. Looks like this one's doing well, or at least well enough. I see there is a potential problem starting here. We're getting a little buildup here in this grass. Eventually it could get to the point where it obstructs that culvert. It's not close now to the point of being a problem, but at some point I should dig this out because in a few years this might build up enough to start obstructing the water flow. Water's flowing in that end under the road, coming out the other end as it should, down the gully as it should, instead of down the road like in that other spot. This is the main road, which I'm eventually going to extend up to bypass that bad spot. This road is a better example. It's crowned, so the water will run off into the ditch instead of washing the road out. It also has some base rock on it, which makes it all weather and keeps it together better. I have another culvert over here. Let's check it out. It's doing okay, but it has a little bit of buildup in front of it, so let's clean that out. This is where it comes out the other side. There's a funny story about this culvert, but it's one of those stories where you had to be there. So there's no point in me telling it, or even mentioning it, like I am doing. This is a different road, and like a lot of roads on my property, it doesn't have any rock on it. Recently I made a couple videos about why I don't need more traction on my tractor to get me through the mud. This is why I just avoid driving around on my roads when it's muddy. At least the ones that don't have rocks on them. Because these ruts here are what happens when you drive on these roads after they get wet. I did drive on this road a couple months ago after it started raining, and I really shouldn't have because I made a mess out of it. I dug a water bar here to direct the water off the road to keep it from washing down that rut and eroding a bigger hole, but the top end of it wasn't good enough, so we'll dig that out more. As the runoff comes down the road, it'll hit that water bar, run off the road instead of down the road. The erosion that does happen will collect here, away from the stream, instead of going down there and eventually going into the stream. This road crosses the main creek. We'll check the culvert down here. Looks good from up here. It's dropped a lot from where it was yesterday. I can see the water level was right here. That's where the high water was. I'm surprised at how high the water was and how quickly it went down. We've been in drought for so long, the ground is really soaking that water up. Here's another gully that crosses the road. It could use a culvert here, but this is not a well-used road. I don't use it in the wet season. A lot of the soil on this property is really erosive, but this spot, it just doesn't erode. It's been here for years, never been a problem, so I just leave it as it is. Got another water bar right here. This one's looking fine the way it is. So far, most of the water bars I've seen are like this. They're doing fine. I don't need to do anything to them, but I look for the ones that do need a little bit of maintenance. That water bar is looking good. I'm not going to go up the rest of the way. The rest of this road typically isn't a problem. We'll go back across the creek and check out another one. We'll take a shortcut here across the creek. This is the old crossing from before that culvert was put in. I just learned something. Two things. I have a leak in my boot and that water is cold. This is a spot where I almost always have to clean the leaves out of the ditch right after a storm. The first storm, that is. This is another spot that needs to be reworked. The ditch needs to be dug out and the road crowned a little more. Now we'll go up what I call the west side roads because they're on the west side. There's a few spots up here that can commonly be a problem. This water bar is mostly doing its job, but I do see where the water washed over during the highest of the water. So we'll clean that out. This one could use a little touching up too. That helps the water run off the road instead of down the road. This one commonly plugs up. This is some very erosive, decomposed granite soil here. But look what the fir needles have done here. They've created miniature versions of the artificial beaver dams we were building the other day, which catches the sediment and builds that up behind them. In a lot of cases that would be a good thing, but here I don't want sediment building up in my water bars. So we'll clean those out. A pick or a hoe would be a good tool for doing this, but when I'm walking around doing road maintenance, I find a shovel to be more of a versatile tool, especially for doing other things like digging out culverts. So I just carry a shovel. Another spot here where the fir needle dams are plugging up the water bar. More of this very erosive, decomposed granite soil. Water bars are commonly made with heavy equipment. If you have a cat, you tilt the blade, then dig a big trench across the road. Those can be more effective and they can be lower maintenance, but they're not as good to drive over. I just use the shovel-built ones on roads that I'm going to continue to use. Oh dear. This is another spot I like to check on once in a while. It's a spot with highly erosive, decomposed granite on the side of a mountain that looks like it was not originally made to have a road put in it right here. But a road was put in it here, and it has this steep road fill made out of very erosive and easily mobilized, decomposed granite. This whole road fill washed out once in the flood we had in 1997, but ever since then, I've maintained this little ditch around it, around the edge, so the water will run around it instead of down it. Most of it looks good, and it's doing its job. This is almost a drop-off where the original part washed out, but this little ditch has been doing its job to keep it from washing out again. And that is partly because this water bar just up the road from it is helping to keep there from being very much water down there to begin with. The gully on this corner can get a lot of water in it, so it has a culvert in it. Check the other end, make sure it looks okay. Looking good here. I'm still amazed at how low the stream levels are now after how high they were yesterday. I don't think I've ever seen storm water recede so quickly here. That's how dry the ground here has been for so long. The rest of this road is typically not a problem, so I'm not going to go up anymore. From what I've seen so far, the roads have done well in the storm. Except for that place where we started, everything else looks good. When most of Oregon is frozen right now and in an ice storm, it's like this here. Blue skies coming out. We are just far enough south to be out of that mess. I wish I hadn't wore the coat because it's a little bit warm. Not to brag or anything, for those of you who are up in the ice storm. Okay, I'm totally bragging. I can be rude like that. And I'm also hungry. It's getting close to lunchtime. I was listening to a guy the other day talking about how to make good YouTube videos. He was saying you should always make a good ending. Sometimes I think I end my videos a little bit abruptly. So today, I'm going to try to make an effort and